All right, so get this. We're diving into a website today called GP Legacy, and it's like stepping into a time machine.
Oh, how so?
Well, imagine this. Frozen in Time website, last updated in 2009, like a digital ghost town of early sim racing.
Now, that's a blast from the past. Sim racing has come a long way since then. Back in the late 2000s, it was just starting to gain traction.
Exactly. And this website, it's like a snapshot of that era. We've got pages for about, events, even one cryptically titled Keep the Dream. But then there's bowling item.
Bowling items?
Yeah, listed multiple times on a sim racing site. It's bizarre.
That certainly piques the curiosity, doesn't it? Almost like stumbling across an Easter egg in a video game. Speaking of games, this was around the time when R-Factor was the sim racing platform to beat.
Ah, R-Factor. Spent countless hours myself trying to master those virtual chicanes.
A true classic. And it seems GP Legacy was deeply involved with R-Factor. They were developing custom content for it. Tracks, cars, the whole shebang, all meticulously crafted to mirror real-world racing.
So they were like the artisans of the virtual racing world, crafting these hyper-realistic experiences.
Precisely. And they weren't just catering to armchair racers either. They were collaborating with professional drivers, helping them hone their skills off the actual track.
Now that's what I call forward thinking, bridging the gap between virtual and reality.
Exactly. And they had their sights set on a global stage. They were even sponsored by A1GP Team Mexico.
A1GP, wasn't that like the World Cup of motorsport?
You got it. Drivers from all corners of the globe battling it out for national pride. And GP Legacy was right there in the thick of it.
Wow, so we've got professional drivers, international racing teams, custom sim racing content. It sounds like GP Legacy was on the fast track to success. But then there's that frozen in time aspect and those mysterious bowling items. Something doesn't quite add up, does it?
It seems we've got a real mystery on our hands. One that intertwines the high-octane world of motorsports with a digital ghost town and some very curious bowling paraphernalia.
This is where things start to get really interesting. It's like we're piecing together a puzzle, and we've got these intriguing pieces scattered
A
about.
puzzle with a high-octane engine and maybe a bowling ball thrown in for good measure?
Maybe, maybe. But speaking of high octane, their events page is a goldmine. They were everywhere.
They certainly weren't afraid to get out there and make a splash.
No kidding. We're talking events with Luis Chapulin Diaz himself, the racing legend.
Ugh. Chapulin Diaz, a name synonymous with speed and skill. He even dedicated a victory to GP Legacy at one point. Talk about a ringing endorsement.
Right. And it wasn't just big names either. They were at Expo Deporte Motor in Mexico City.
Now, that's a massive event, a showcase of everything motorsport. What was a sim racing company doing there?
Well, it seems they were showcasing their technology, letting people experience the thrill of sim racing firsthand. Remember, this was before sim racing blew up like it has now. GP Legacy was on the front lines, converting people to the cause.
They were pioneers, breaking down barriers and showing the world that sim racing wasn't just a game, but a legitimate training tool and a sport in its own right.
And they weren't just doing it with smoke and mirrors. They were partnering with companies like Logitech, developing high-end racing wheels and pedals.
Logitech, that's a powerhouse in gaming peripherals. Their involvement speaks volumes about the potential they saw in GP Legacy.
Absolutely. It's like they were saying, this is the future of racing and we want in. They understood that to elevate sim racing, you needed the hardware to match the software.
They were pushing boundaries on all fronts. The software, the hardware, the events, the partnerships with racing legends. GP Legacy was firing on all cylinders.
It's almost overwhelming when you think about it. 57 events in just a few years. These guys were relentless.
They were driven, fueled by passion and a vision for the future of racing.
But somewhere along this fast-paced journey, they hit a roadblock. And that's what we'll unravel in the final part of our deep dive. The mystery of the Keep the Dream page, the sudden silence, and those ever-present bowling items.
The plot thickens. Stay tuned because things are about to get very interesting.
Okay, so we're back, still trying to wrap our heads around GP Legacy, this company that was everywhere one minute and gone the next.
Like a comet blazing across the digital sky, leaving us to decipher its trajectory.
And the Keep the Dream page, that's where things take a turn. It's less about racing victories and more about personal battles.
It does have a different tone, doesn't it? Almost melancholic.
Yeah, there's a lot of heartfelt messages. Mentions of a Get Well Sergio Racing Cup.
Organized by Alex Martini of Autosim Sport magazine. A touching gesture.
And then it hits you, the reason for the silence. The sudden stop. Sergio, the driving force behind GP Legacy, was diagnosed with bipolar disorder.
It's a reminder that behind every website, every company, there are real people grappling with real challenges.
And in this case, it sounds like the challenges were immense. The page mentions how people turned their backs on him after the diagnosis. The stigma surrounding mental health can be incredibly isolating.
It's a sad reality. But what's inspiring is that Sergio didn't let it break him. He channeled his energy into a new venture, VitaBipolar.com.
And suddenly those bowling items links made a lot more sense. VitaBipolar.com was also involved in creating and selling bowling equipment as a fundraising effort.
It's amazing how he took this passion project and used it to support a cause so close to his heart.
He could have easily walked away from it all, but instead he chose to fight back, to raise awareness, to build a community.
And in doing so, he created a different kind of legacy, one that goes beyond lap times and racing victories.
We started with a website frozen in time, a snapshot of a bygone era of sim racing.
We uncovered a story of ambition, innovation, and a relentless pursuit of a dream.
But more importantly, we learned about the resilience of the human spirit, the power of turning adversity into advocacy, and the unexpected legacies we create along the way.
GP Legacy's story is a powerful reminder that there's often more than meets the eye, and sometimes the most meaningful journeys take us down unexpected paths.
It makes you wonder what unexpected turns might life throw our way, and how will we choose to navigate them? Something to ponder, wouldn't you say?